Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Best English Podcast. I'm Sophia, your host for today. I am absolutely thrilled to have you join me in this English learning episode. If you're new to our channel, I want to say that. You didn't find us by accident. You're here because you want to grow, to learn, to become a better version of yourself. And you're not alone on that journey. We share meaningful educational videos every single day because we believe that a little knowledge shared with love can truly change lives. We regularly share new podcast episodes designed to help you improve your English fluency and confidence step by step. So if you're ready to take that next step, to learn something new, to feel inspired, and to believe in your own potential, then stay with us. Subscribe and let's walk this path of growth together, one day at a time. Before we dive in, I want you to take a moment and think about this. Have you ever felt truly stuck in your English learning journey? Perhaps you have a specific memory of a time you felt this way. Maybe you were in a meeting or on a video call, or perhaps you met a native English speaker while traveling. You knew exactly what you wanted to say in your head. The idea was clear. The vocabulary was there, somewhere. But when you opened your mouth to speak, something went wrong. You felt a sense of panic, a frustrating silence as you searched for the right words. Maybe the sentence came out slowly, awkwardly, sounding nothing like the fluent English you hear in movies. You could see the other person waiting patiently, and in that moment you felt all your years of study, all the grammar rules and vocabulary lists, had somehow failed you. If that sounds even remotely familiar, I want you to take a deep breath and know that you are not alone. This experience, this gap between what you know and what you can say, is one of the most common and deeply frustrating hurdles for English learners all over the world. It can make you feel like you're not making any progress or that you're just not good at languages. But what if I told you that the problem isn't you? What if the problem is the approach? What if I told you that the key to unlocking your speaking fluency isn't necessarily more grammar drills or more complex vocabulary flashcards? What if the secret lies in a skill you use every single day? A skill so fundamental that we often forget it's the very foundation of language itself. Today, we are going to explore the most powerful, yet often overlooked tool for transforming your spoken English. The simple, profound act of listening. But not just any kind of listening. We are going to dive deep into how listening more and more effectively can help you speak better, grow your confidence, and accelerate your fluency faster than you ever thought possible. So, find a comfortable spot, maybe grab a cup of tea or a notebook if you like, and get ready to fundamentally change the way you think about learning English. This isn't just another lesson. It's the beginning of a new, more natural, and much more enjoyable chapter in your fluency journey. Let's begin our journey with the most natural example in the world: a baby learning its first language. Imagine a 1-year-old child. Does this child sit in a high chair with a grammar book? Does its mother point to charts of verb conjugations? Of course not. The idea is absurd. A baby learns to speak by being completely and utterly immersed in a world of sound. For months and months, a baby's primary job is to listen. It listens to its parents cooing and talking. It listens to siblings playing. It listens to the television, the radio, the birds outside the window. Its brain, a miraculous learning machine, is absorbing everything. It's not just hearing words. It's absorbing the rhythm, the intonation, the melody, and the emotional color of the language. It's like a supercomputer downloading terabytes of auditory data, sorting it, categorizing it, and finding patterns, all happening subconsciously. After a year or even more of this intensive, nonstop listening, what happens? The baby finally starts to produce its first tentative words: mama, dada, ball. These words are never perfect at first. The pronunciation might be a little off, the grammar non-existent. But they are the direct, tangible result of all those thousands of hours of listening. The connection is already forged deep within the brain's neural pathways. What the ear hears and the brain processes, the mouth eventually learns to say. This incredible, natural process doesn't just switch off when we become adults. Our brains are still fundamentally wired to learn language in this auditory way. The famous linguist Stephen Krashen built his entire theory of language acquisition around this core idea. One of his most important concepts is the input hypothesis. It's a simple but profound idea. We acquire language in only one way: by understanding messages or by receiving comprehensible input. In the simplest terms, this means that when you listen to or read English that you can mostly understand, your brain is naturally and automatically absorbing the language. You are acquiring the grammar, the vocabulary, and the sentence structure without consciously trying to memorize them. It's the difference between studying a language and acquiring a language. Studying is a conscious effort, like memorizing the parts of a flower. Acquiring is a subconscious process, like a plant absorbing sunlight and nutrients from the soil to grow. You can't force a plant to grow by yelling at it. You can only provide the right environment. For your English brain, comprehensible input is that sunlight and soil. So, if it's that simple, you might be asking, Sophia, why isn't everyone who watches English movies fluent? That is a brilliant question, and it leads us to a crucial distinction: the difference between passive listening and active listening. Passive listening is when English is just part of the background noise of your life. Imagine you're cooking dinner and you have an English news channel on the TV. You hear the sounds, you might catch a word or two like government or economy, but your primary focus is on not burning the onions. You are hearing English, but you are not truly listening to it. It's like standing in the rain with a waterproof coat on. The water is all around you, but very little of it is actually sinking in. Let's use an analogy that might make this even clearer. Imagine you want to become a fantastic chef. You could read 100 cookbooks. You could memorize thousands of recipes, the exact measurements, the cooking times. You would know a lot about cooking. But if you never actually went into a kitchen, never held a knife, never smelled the spices, never tasted a sauce to see if it needs more salt, would you be a chef? Number. To become a chef, you have to engage all your senses. You have to watch other chefs, taste their food, and then go into the kitchen and try it yourself. You have to experience the process. Learning to speak English is the same. Reading grammar books is like reading cookbooks. It's useful, but it's not the main event. Active listening is the tasting, the smelling, the experiencing of the language. It's what gives you the feel, the intuition for what sounds right. And speaking is you in the kitchen, finally creating your own dishes. Another critical idea from Krashen's research is the affective filter. This is a wonderful term for an emotional wall that we sometimes put up when we're learning. When you feel stressed, anxious, embarrassed, or not confident, your affective filter goes up. This wall literally blocks your brain from absorbing the language input you're receiving. Have you ever been in a conversation where you felt so nervous that you couldn't even understand what the other person was saying, even though they were using simple words? That's your affective filter in action. Active listening, especially to content you enjoy, helps to lower this filter. When you're relaxed, interested, and engaged in a podcast about your favorite hobby, you're not worried about making mistakes. Your brain is open, receptive, and ready to learn. You're just enjoying the content, and the language acquisition happens as a beautiful side effect. Let me tell you a story about a student I once knew. Her name was Clara. Clara was brilliant. She had spent years studying English in her home country. Her grasp of grammar was exceptional, and she had a vast vocabulary. On paper, she was an advanced student, a model of diligence. But Clara had a secret that caused her a great deal of pain. She was terrified of speaking. In conversations, she would become incredibly slow and hesitant. Her process was entirely analytical. She would construct a sentence in her native language, mentally translate it into English, double-check the grammar rules, search for the most precise vocabulary word, and only then would she speak. As you can imagine, this made her speech sound unnatural, almost robotic. She was so deeply frustrated because she felt she had all the ingredients but couldn't cook the meal. Clara came to me for conversation classes, and for the first few sessions, I just listened. It became clear very quickly that her problem wasn't a lack of knowledge, but a complete lack of automaticity, of flow. So I asked her to describe her learning habits in detail. She told me she spent at least 3 hours every single day in focused study. She had a strict schedule: 1 hour of advanced grammar exercises, 1 hour of vocabulary building using flashcard apps, and 1 hour of reading articles from academic journals. It was an impressive regimen. I then asked her, "And how much time do you spend just listening to English for fun?" She looked almost confused by the question. "Well," she said, "I watch American movies sometimes, but I use the subtitles in my own language so I can understand the story perfectly." That was the light bulb moment. Her input was almost entirely visual: reading books, reading apps, reading subtitles. She was training her eyes, but she was completely neglecting her ears. So I proposed a radical experiment. For the next month, I told her to cut her study time in half. With the extra 90 minutes she now had each day, her only assignment was to listen. I gave her a list of podcasts on topics she had told me she loved: gardening and ancient history. I suggested she find some interviews on YouTube with her favorite authors. Her only rules were these. First, she had to choose content she was genuinely, personally interested in. And second, she had to listen actively. I gave her a small notebook and told her to simply write down 1 or 2 new phrases she heard each day. Not single words, but full, useful chunks of language, like "at the end of the day" or "it's not my cup of tea." The first week was difficult for Clara. She felt like she was being lazy, like she was wasting her time. Her brain was so used to the structure of studying that this felt unproductive, but she trusted me and stuck with the process. By the middle of the second week, something magical started to happen. She was listening to a podcast about Roman history, and she heard the host say, "To make a long story short, the empire eventually fell due to a combination of factors." A few days later, in our conversation class, I asked her about her weekend. She started to describe a complicated family event. Then she paused, and without a single moment of translation or thought, she said, "Well, to make a long story short, it was a bit of a disaster." She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes wide with surprise. The phrase had just appeared. It came out naturally, with the right intonation, because she had absorbed it through listening. It was now part of her active linguistic toolkit. Over the next few months, Clara's transformation was nothing short of incredible. Her speaking became smoother, faster, more natural. She started to use idioms and colloquial expressions correctly because she had heard them used in their natural context hundreds of times. Her pronunciation improved dramatically because she was subconsciously mimicking the rhythms and sounds of the native speakers she was listening to every day. She finally stopped the painful process of translating in her head and started to think in English. She didn't become fluent by studying more. She became fluent by fundamentally changing how she learned. She built the bridge between her mind and her mouth, and that bridge was paved with sound. So, before we move on to the practical techniques, I want you to pause and reflect for a moment. Think about your own English learning routine this past month. Grab a piece of paper and draw 2 columns. In the first column, estimate how many hours you spent on eye-based learning, reading, grammar exercises, flashcards. In the second column, estimate how many hours you spent on ear-based learning, actively listening to podcasts, audiobooks, or shows without subtitles in your language. Be honest with yourself. Is there a balance? For most learners, the I column is much, much fuller. Recognizing this imbalance is the first and most crucial step to changing it and starting your own transformation. Okay, so we've firmly established why listening is the absolute foundation of speaking. You understand the critical difference between passive hearing and active listening. Now comes the exciting part, the part where we get practical. How do you actually do it? How can you listen actively in a way that directly and efficiently improves your speaking? It's not just about turning on a podcast and hoping for the best. There are specific, powerful techniques you can use to turn your listening time into a super effective speaking workout. Let's break them down step by step with plenty of practice. Our first technique is what we can call listening for the gist. This is also known in linguistics as top-down processing. The goal here is very simple and very important: to understand the main idea of what you're hearing. For this exercise, you must give yourself permission to not understand every single word. This is a mental barrier that many learners have to break. They hear an unfamiliar word, they panic, their focus gets stuck on that one word, and they completely miss the meaning of the next 3 sentences. Has that ever happened to you? It's a very common experience. Listening for the gist is the antidote to that panic. You're zooming out and taking a bird's-eye view of the communication. You're asking yourself one simple question. In general, what is this about? What is the speaker's main point or overall feeling? Let's try a very short example right now. Imagine you're listening to a news report. I'm going to read a short fictional report. Don't worry about the details or any vocabulary you don't know. Your only job is to answer that one question. What is this story about? Ready? Here it is. Good evening. City officials announced today that the annual Summer Music Festival, originally scheduled for this weekend at Central Park, has been postponed due to a severe weather forecast. Meteorologists are predicting heavy thunderstorms and high winds starting Saturday morning and continuing through Sunday evening. A spokesperson for the mayor's office stated that they are working to reschedule the event for a later date in August and that all tickets will be honored for the new date. Now, take a moment. What was that about? You don't need to know the word meteorologists or spokesperson or even honored. Your brain likely picked up on the key anchor words: music festival, postponed, severe weather, thunderstorms. From those simple clues, you can easily construct the main idea. The music festival was canceled or delayed because of expected bad weather. That's it. You have successfully listened for the gist. Practicing this skill regularly builds your confidence immensely. It trains your brain to relax, to look for context clues, and to focus on the core message, which is the most important part of any communication. Let's try a slightly longer practice. I'm going to tell you a very short story. Again, your only job is to understand the main point of the story. Resist the urge to understand every word. Just listen for the overall feeling and message. A young man named Leo wanted to become a great writer. Every day, he would sit in front of his blank computer screen for hours, feeling immense pressure, but he couldn't write a single word. He was convinced he had no ideas. One day, a famous old author visited his town, and Leo got the chance to ask him for advice. "Stop trying to write," the old author said gently, "or for 1 month, I forbid you from even opening your computer. Instead, I want you to go out and live, talk to strangers, travel to a new place, learn a skill you've always been curious about, even get your heart broken. Experience the messiness of life." Leo was deeply confused, but he decided to follow the strange advice. He packed his laptop away in a closet. He spent the month hiking in the mountains, volunteering at an animal shelter, and learning how to cook Italian food from an elderly woman in his neighborhood. At the end of the month, he came back and sat at his computer, not with a sense of pressure, but with a feeling of fullness. And this time, when his fingers touched the keyboard, the stories and ideas flowed out of him like a powerful river. He finally had something to write about because he had finally lived. So, what is the gist of that story? What's the main idea? The central message is that to be a great creator, whether a writer or anything else, you need to have rich life experiences to draw from. It's not just about technical skill, it's about having something meaningful and authentic to say. See? You didn't need to understand every single adjective or turn of phrase to grasp the core lesson of the story. This is top-down listening, and it should always be your first step with any new piece of audio. Now, once you're comfortable listening for the main idea, we can move on to our second complementary technique, listening for details. This is the opposite approach, also called bottom-up processing. Now, your focus shifts dramatically. You've already got the big picture from your first listen, so you can go back and listen to the same piece of audio again. But this time, you're not a bird flying over the landscape. You're a detective on the ground with a magnifying glass. You are actively listening for specific pieces of information: names, numbers, dates, times, reasons, specific vocabulary, or key phrases. Let's return to our first example, the news report about the music festival. We already know the gist. Now, I want you to listen again, but this time you have a specific mission. Try to find the answers to these 3 specific questions. Where exactly was the festival supposed to happen? What 2 specific weather conditions are predicted? What will happen to the tickets people have already bought? Ready? Focus your attention. Let's listen one more time. Good evening. City officials announced today that the annual Summer Music Festival, originally scheduled for this weekend at Central Park, has been postponed due to a severe weather forecast. Meteorologists are predicting heavy thunderstorms and high winds starting Saturday morning and continuing through Sunday evening. A spokesperson for the mayor's office stated that they are working to reschedule the event for a later date in August and that all tickets will be honored for the new date. Okay, did you find the details? Let's check. Where was it supposed to happen? At Central Park. What two specific weather conditions? Heavy thunderstorms and high winds. What will happen to the tickets? All tickets will be honored for the new date. By combining these two techniques, you create a powerful 1-2 punch for your listening comprehension. The first listen, for the gist, is low pressure and builds your confidence. The second listen, for details, actively engages your analytical mind and deepens your understanding. This two-step process reduces stress and makes understanding complex audio much more manageable and effective. Now we arrive at what might be the single most powerful technique for converting your listening skills directly into speaking skills. This technique is called shadowing. The concept is simple, but the effect on your fluency is profound. Shadowing means listening to a native speaker and speaking at the exact same time as them, like a shadow following a person. You are literally trying to copy everything: the exact words, the speed, the rhythm, the rise and fall of their voice, the pauses, as closely as you possibly can, just a split second behind the original speaker. Why is this exercise so transformative? Because it creates a direct physical connection between your ears and your mouth, bypassing the analytical, translating part of your brain. You are training the muscles in your mouth, tongue, and jaw to produce the sounds and rhythms of English in the same way a native speaker does. It's a form of muscle memory. Think about learning to dance by following a teacher's movements. You don't analyze the angle of their knee, you just try to copy it. Shadowing is the same for your mouth. It dramatically improves your pronunciation, helps you speak more smoothly and connect your words, and, most importantly, it helps you internalize the natural music of English, what linguists call prosody. This is what makes your speech sound natural and engaging, rather than flat and robotic. So, how do you practice shadowing correctly to get the best results? Let's walk through a detailed step-by-step guide. First, choose a very short piece of audio. This is critical. I'm talking 30 seconds to 1 minute maximum. It is far more effective to work deeply with a short clip 5 times than to work superficially with a 5-minute clip 1 time. The audio should be clear, and the speaker should not be speaking exceptionally fast. A clip from a TED Talk, a short news segment, a monologue from a movie, or even a short piece from a podcast like this one can work perfectly. Second, just listen to the clip 1 or 2 times without doing anything else. Your only goal is to understand the content. This is our listening for the gist step. You need to know what is being said before you can attempt to say it. Third, get the transcript. A transcript is the written text of the audio. Most good educational podcasts and many YouTube videos provide transcripts. This is incredibly important because it allows you to see the words as you hear them, connecting the sounds to the spelling. Read the transcript while listening to the audio again. This solidifies your comprehension. Fourth, practice line by line. This is the listen and repeat stage, a bridge to full shadowing. Play one sentence or a short phrase, pause the audio, and then say the sentence out loud, doing your absolute best to imitate the speaker's pronunciation and intonation. Do this for the entire clip. You might need to do this step several times until you feel more comfortable and confident with the sentences. Finally, it's time to shadow. Play the audio clip from the beginning, and this time, don't pause. Take a deep breath and try to speak along with the speaker. It will feel strange, messy, and difficult at first. You will stumble, you will miss words, you will fall behind. This is not only normal, it is a guaranteed part of the process. Do not worry about being perfect. The goal is to just keep your mouth moving and try to stay in sync with the speaker's rhythm and flow. Let's try a mini version right now. I will say a simple sentence. First, just listen. The most important thing is to be consistent with your practice. Okay, now let's do the listen and repeat step. I'll say it in chunks and you repeat in the pause. Ready? The most important thing is to be consistent with your practice. Good. Now, let's focus on the rhythm, the music. Notice which words I stress, which ones are louder and longer. The most important thing is to be consistent with your practice. Try saying that a few times, tapping the rhythm on your desk if it helps. Feel the music of it. Now, for the final step, shadowing. I'm going to say the sentence at a normal speed, and I want you to try and say it at the exact same time as me. Let's try it. I'll count you in. 3, 2, 1. The most important thing is to be consistent with your practice. How did that feel? A little clumsy? That's perfect. That feeling of clumsiness means your mouth is doing something new. It's learning. Of course, you'll run into problems. For example, what if the speaker is too fast? Most audio and video players, including YouTube and many podcast apps, have a playback speed setting. Don't be afraid to slow the audio down to 0.75x speed. It's better to shadow successfully at a slower speed than to fail at normal speed. What if you don't understand a word? That's why you work with a transcript first. Look up any unknown words before you begin shadowing. The goal of shadowing is a physical practice, not a comprehension test. With consistent practice, this technique will build muscle memory that makes fluent, natural-sounding speech feel more and more effortless. Another incredibly effective, though more intensive technique is dictation or transcription. This involves listening to a piece of audio and writing down exactly what you hear, word for word, punctuation included. This exercise is like a microscope for your ears. It forces your brain to pay intense attention to every single sound, every verb ending -s, -ed, -ing, every plural s, every tiny but important preposition like in, on, or at. It's an intense workout. When you check your written text against the original transcript, you will immediately receive clear, undeniable feedback on your listening weaknesses. Maybe you have trouble distinguishing between the vowels in ship and sheep, or live and leave. Maybe you consistently miss articles like a and the because they are unstressed. Dictation reveals these specific gaps in your hearing, and once you are aware of them, you can start to actively listen for them and fix them. Let's try a simple dictation right now. Get a pen and paper or open a note on your phone. I am going to say 2 sentences. I'll say them at a natural pace, twice. Your job is to write them down exactly as you hear them. Ready? I've been looking for a new apartment for about 2 weeks, but I haven't found anything suitable yet. I'll say it again. I've been looking for a new apartment for about 2 weeks, but I haven't found anything suitable yet. Okay, take a moment to finish writing and check your work. Now, let's check it together, word by word. The first word is I've. That's the contraction of I have. I''ve. Did you get the contraction? It's a very common sound in spoken English. Then, been looking for a new apartment for about 2 weeks, comma, but I haven't. Another contraction, have not. Found anything suitable yet? Period. How did you do? Did you miss the contractions? Did you spell suitable correctly? This simple exercise can show you so much about your listening accuracy. Doing a short dictation once or twice a week, even for just 5 minutes, can dramatically improve your ability to catch the details of spoken English. And when you can hear the details more clearly, you'll be able to produce them more accurately in your own speech. Finally, let's talk about one of the biggest secrets to understanding and sounding like a native speaker. This is the crucial concept of connected speech. In your English textbook, you learn that English is spoken word by distinct word, like this. What are you going to do art today? But as you know from listening, nobody actually talks like that. In natural, fluid speech, words are linked together, sounds are changed, and some sounds even disappear entirely. This is connected speech, and it's often the #1 reason that learners can know every word in a sentence, but still not understand what a native speaker is saying at normal speed. There are a few key features of connected speech to listen for. The most common is linking, especially a consonant sound at the end of a word linking to a vowel sound at the beginning of the next. For example, we don't say an apple, we say an apple. The words flow together into one smooth sound. Turn it off becomes turn it off. First of all becomes first of all. Then there are reductions. These are weak, unstressed sounds. We often change small vowel sounds to a neutral, lazy sound called the schwa. It sounds like The word for often sounds like fur. To sounds like tuh. I'm going to the store becomes I'm going to the store. And, of course, there are the very common reductions that you have probably already heard. Going to becomes gonna, want to becomes wanna, let me becomes lemme, give me becomes gimme, kind of becomes kinda. Let's practice hearing this. I'm going to say a short phrase the way a native speaker would naturally say it. I want you to try and decipher what the original written words were. Ready? Here's the first one. What do you want? Listen again. What do you want? What words are those? They are, what do you want? The T in what changes to a D sound, and do you gets compressed into dia. What do you want? Let's try another one, a very common one. I should have called him. Again, I should have called him. What is shoulda? It's the reduced form of should have. I should have called him. We do this with would have, woulda, and could have, coulda as well. And one more. I don't know what to do. Again. I don't know what to do. What is dunno? It's don't know. I don't know what to do. Actively listening for these features of connected speech is a complete game changer. When you start to notice them, it's like cracking a code. You'll find it so much easier to understand fast, natural English. And when you begin to use a few of these reductions, even just simple ones like gonna and wanna, In your own speaking, your speech will instantly sound more fluent, relaxed, and natural. The best way to practice this is to take a short clip of a movie or TV show, something with a lot of dialogue. Listen to one line very carefully with the English subtitles on. Pay close attention to the differences between the written words on the screen and the sounds the actor is actually making. Pause, rewind, and imitate. It's a fascinating and incredibly effective discovery process. So, to recap our how-to section, we have a powerful toolbox of techniques. Start with listening for the gist to build confidence. Then, listen again for details to deepen your comprehension. Use shadowing to directly train your mouth and build muscle memory for fluency. Practice dictation to sharpen your listening accuracy and find your weak spots. And finally, tune your ears to the nuances of connected speech to crack the code of natural spoken English. You don't have to master all of these at once. Just choose one to focus on this week. Now that we know why listening is crucial and how to do it effectively, we arrive at the final practical piece of the puzzle. What should you listen to? The modern world has gifted us an almost infinite library of English audio and video content. This is both a blessing and a curse. With so much choice, it can be paralyzing to know where to start. Choosing the wrong material can lead to frustration, boredom, and giving up. But choosing the right material can make learning feel effortless, engaging, and genuinely fun. The most important principle for choosing your listening material is what I call the Goldilocks rule. You remember the story of Goldilocks and the 3 bears, don't you? One bowl of porridge was too hot, one was too cold, and one was just right. Your listening material needs to be just right for your current level. If you're an intermediate learner, around a B1 or B2 level, and you try to listen to a university lecture on macroeconomic theory or a dense legal drama, it's going to be too hot. The vocabulary will be too specialized, the sentence structures too complex. You'll become frustrated and lose motivation. On the other hand, if you listen to a simple cartoon for very young children, it will be too cold. You'll be bored, and you won't be exposed to any new language. You won't be challenged. You need to find material that is comprehensible, but still offers a gentle challenge. This is Krashen's I+1 concept in practice. The I represents your current level of English, and the +1 represents material that is just one small step above that level. It should contain some new words, a few unfamiliar phrases, but you should still be able to understand the overall meaning from the context. This is the sweet spot, the optimal zone for language acquisition. How do you know if a piece of audio is just right for you? A good guideline is that you should be able to understand about 80 to 95% of it without a transcript. If you understand less than 80%, it's probably too hard for independent listening, too hot. If you understand 100%, it's great for enjoyment and building confidence, but it might be too easy for pushing your growth, too cold. So, where can you find this just right content? The beauty of a well-rounded listening plan is that you can match your materials to your specific goals and interests. You need a diverse listening diet to develop all your skills. Let's explore some specific options. If your primary goal is to build your vocabulary and general comprehension, podcasts are your absolute best friend. There are podcasts on literally every topic imaginable. The number one rule here is to choose podcasts on topics you already love in your own language. Are you passionate about true crime, technology, cooking, history, video games, or fashion? There's a high-quality podcast for you. When you listen to something you are genuinely interested in, it stops feeling like studying. Podcasts designed for English learners, like this one, are a fantastic place to start because the speech is often clearer and paced for comprehension. But don't be afraid to venture into podcasts made for native speakers on topics you know well. For a B1/B2 learner, something like NPR's How I Built This or BBC's The Curious Cases of Rutherford and Fry might be a great I+1 challenge. Because you already understand the topic, it will be easier to follow along and guess the meaning of new words from context. Audiobooks are another phenomenal resource. You can find audiobooks for every level, from simplified graded readers for B1 learners to the latest bestsellers for more advanced B2 learners. A powerful strategy is to get both the audiobook and the ebook or physical book. Listen to a chapter while you are commuting or cleaning, and then read the same chapter later. This multi-sensory approach, seeing the words while having already heard them pronounced correctly, is incredibly effective for cementing new vocabulary and sentence structures in your memory. If your specific goal is to improve your pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation, then short video clips are your ideal tool. This is where shadowing becomes particularly powerful. Find short clips, 2 to 3 minutes, from your favorite TV shows or movies on YouTube. Sitcoms like Friends or The Office are excellent because the dialogue is conversational and clear. Watch a short scene, listen very carefully, and then try to imitate one of the characters. Actors are professionals at using their voices to convey emotion, and copying them is excellent practice. TED Talks are a goldmine for this. The speakers are usually very clear, passionate, and rehearsed. Their talks are available online for free, almost always with high-quality transcripts and subtitles. Shadowing a small 2-minute section of a powerful TED Talk will teach you not only new vocabulary and ideas, but also how to speak with confidence, clarity, and persuasive power. What if your goal is to get better at informal, everyday, real-life conversation? This is where many textbooks fail learners. They teach you a formal, grammatically perfect English that can sound stiff and unnatural in a casual chat with a friend. For this, you need to listen to authentic, unscripted conversations. Reality TV shows can be surprisingly useful for this, as they are filled with natural dialogue, slang, idioms, and interruptions. YouTube vlogs are another amazing and endless resource. Find a vlogger you like who talks about their daily life, their hobbies, or their travels. You'll be exposed to the most current, natural, and informal English. Interviews with celebrities on talk, shows like The Graham Norton Show, are also fantastic because they are generally relaxed, funny, and filled with the kind of back-and-forth banter that is central to real conversation. Now, let's talk about a very important tool: subtitles. Should you use them? The answer is yes, but you must use them strategically. Think of subtitles as training wheels on a bicycle. They are useful at the beginning, but the goal is to eventually take them off. I recommend a 3-step process. Step 1. If you are watching something challenging, watch it for the first time with subtitles in your native language. This allows you to relax and just understand the story. Step 2. Watch the same thing again, but this time with English subtitles. Now, your brain will connect the English sounds you are hearing with the English words you are seeing. This is fantastic for your reading speed and vocabulary. Step 3. The final and most important step is to watch it a third time with no subtitles at all. This forces your ears to do all the work. It might be difficult at first, but this is where the real listening skill growth happens. The ultimate goal is to create your own personal English immersion environment, no matter where you live in the world. Use technology to your advantage. Change the language settings on your phone and your computer to English. You'll learn words like settings, inbox, delete, and missed call without any effort at all. When you're driving to work, listen to an English podcast. When you're at the gym or cooking dinner, have a YouTube vlog playing. Even this more passive exposure has a cumulative effect. It keeps the sounds and rhythms of English active in your brain, making your active listening sessions even more effective. Remember, consistency is far more important than intensity. It is much, much better to engage in 20 minutes of focused, active listening every single day than to try and cram a 5-hour listening session into your Sunday afternoon. A short daily habit builds momentum and allows your brain to process and consolidate the new information while you sleep. And my final, perhaps most important, piece of advice on this topic is this: follow your joy. Seriously. The best listening material in the world is the material that you find genuinely interesting and enjoyable. If you force yourself to listen to boring political news when you actually love fantasy novels, you will not stick with it. Learning a language is a long journey, a marathon, not a sprint. To stay motivated for the long haul, you have to enjoy the process. So, right now, take out a piece of paper and write down 5 things you are passionate about. It could be anything: dogs, gardening, movies from the 1980s, space exploration, baking bread. Now, I challenge you this week to go onto YouTube or your podcast app and find one piece of English content for each of those 5 things. By connecting your English learning with your personal passions, you transform it from a chore into a pleasure. We have covered a tremendous amount of ground together today. We started our journey with the fundamental, unshakable truth that listening is the mother of speaking, the natural process through which we are all wired to learn language. We discovered that the key is not just passively hearing English, but actively, consciously engaging with it with a clear purpose. We then filled our virtual toolbox with powerful, practical techniques, starting with the wide lens of listening for the gist, then zooming in to listen for details. We explored the transformative physical practice of shadowing to connect our ears to our mouths, the forensic precision of dictation to find our weaknesses, and the code-breaking art of decoding connected speech. And finally, we learned how to become curators of our own learning, choosing materials that are just right, and, most importantly, joyful. The path to fluency can sometimes feel long and winding, and it's easy to get discouraged when you feel like you're not making progress fast enough. When those moments of doubt creep in, I want you to remember the story of Clara. Her breakthrough didn't come from a newer, better grammar book or a magical new app. It came from a simple but profound shift in her daily habits. It came from closing her textbooks for a little while and truly opening her ears. By intentionally immersing herself in the sounds of the English language, she allowed her brilliant brain to do what it is naturally designed to do: acquire language organically. She built a bridge of sound from her knowledgeable mind to her confident mouth, and you have the power to do the exact same thing. fluency is not about being perfect. It is not about never making a grammar mistake or knowing every single word in the dictionary. Nobody achieves that, not even native speakers. Fluency is about connection and communication. It's about being able to express your unique ideas, your insightful opinions, your funny stories, and your true personality in another language, clearly and with confidence. And the bedrock, the solid foundation of that spoken confidence begins with listening. The more you listen, the more you understand. The more you understand, the more patterns and chunks of language your brain absorbs. The more you absorb, the more naturally and automatically the words will flow when it's your turn to speak. You listen more, you speak better, and you grow faster. It is a simple, beautiful, and effective cycle. So, as we finish up today, I want to leave you with one final, very clear call to action. Don't let this just be an interesting podcast you heard. Be a person of action. Turn this inspiration into a habit. Starting today, I challenge you to commit to just 15 to 20 minutes of focused, active English listening every single day for the next week. That's it. Choose just one of the techniques we discussed today. Maybe tomorrow you'll try shadowing a 1-minute clip from a movie 5 times. Maybe the next day you'll do a 5-minute dictation from your favorite English song. Or maybe you'll simply listen to a podcast on a topic you love with the specific goal of noticing and writing down one new phrase you can use yourself. Just 15 minutes. It's a small, manageable commitment that, over time, will build a powerful momentum and lead to massive, lasting results. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today here at the Best English Podcast. I hope you feel energized, inspired, and equipped with new tools and a new perspective to take your English to the next level. Your journey to fluency is your own unique marathon, and every single step, every minute you spend actively listening is a step forward. Be patient with yourself, be proud of your effort, celebrate your small victories, and most of all, find ways to have fun with it. If you found this episode helpful and you're ready to continue your journey with us, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you are listening so you won't miss our next episode. We have so much more to explore together. My name is Sophia, and it has been an absolute pleasure to be your guide today. Keep listening, keep practicing, and keep growing. I'll talk to you again very soon.